Welcome back to Boring History for Sleep. Tonight, we're traveling back more than 700 years to a world without electricity, running water, or even the comfort of a proper bed. So settle in, relax, and let yourself drift away as we discover why you probably wouldn't last a single day in medieval times. The first thing you notice is the cold. Not the kind of cold that disappears when you pull up a blanket or turn on the heating. This cold has been with you all night. It seeps through the rough wooden walls of your tiny cottage and settles deep into your bones. You slowly open your eyes. For a moment, you can't see anything. The room is dark, except for a faint orange glow coming from the dying embers of last night's fire. The air smells of smoke, damp wood, and something far less pleasant. You are not sleeping on a mattress. Instead, you're lying on a sack stuffed with straw that has long since become flattened and uncomfortable. The blanket covering you is rough wool, itchy against your skin, and barely warm enough to protect you from the freezing morning air. Welcome to medieval Europe. You try to stretch, but there isn't much room. Your family members are sleeping just a few feet away. In fact, everyone sleeps in the same room. Privacy, as we understand it today, simply doesn't exist. Outside, the world is still dark, yet your day is already beginning. A rooster crows somewhere in the distance. Another answers. Then comes the sound of a dog barking and the low mooing of cattle. The village is waking up. You sit up carefully, brushing pieces of straw from your clothes. Your back hurts, your neck hurts. In truth, almost everything hurts. Yesterday's work in the fields lasted from sunrise until sunset, and today will be exactly the same. You look around your home. The cottage itself is small, perhaps only one room for an entire family. The walls are made from wood and mud. The roof above you is thatched with straw, offering only limited protection from rain and wind. There is no glass in the windows. In fact, there are barely windows at all. Small openings allow some light and air to enter whenever they please. The fire pit in the center of the room has burned throughout the night. Smoke drifts upward, though much of it remains trapped inside the house. Over years and decades, this smoke blackens the walls and fills the lungs of everyone who lives here. You stand slowly and pull on your shoes. Actually, calling them shoes might be generous. They are simple leather coverings, worn thin from years of use. If you're lucky, they fit reasonably well. If not, you simply learn to live with it. Outside the cottage, dawn is beginning to break. The village around you is quiet, but already coming to life. Thin streams of smoke rise from neighboring homes. Farmers emerge from their cottages, carrying tools mostly of wood and iron. Children, many no older than 7 or 8, are already helping prepare for the day's work. There are no weekends, there are no vacations, and there is certainly no retirement. Life in medieval Europe revolves around survival. As you walk across the muddy ground, your feet sink slightly into the earth. There are no paved roads here. Rain has transformed the paths between houses into thick mud, mixed with animal waste and household garbage. The smell is difficult to ignore. Nearby, a few chickens wander freely, pecking at whatever scraps they can find. A pig roots through the mud. Livestock often live very close to people, sometimes even inside the house during harsh winters. You make your way toward the village well. Water is one of the most important parts of daily life, but obtaining it requires effort. Every bucket must be carried by hand, and despite your efforts, the water isn't always safe to drink. Disease is a constant companion in medieval life. People don't understand bacteria or viruses. They don't know why illness spreads. They simply know that sometimes entire families become sick, and sometimes they never recover. As the sun slowly rises over the horizon, you finally begin to see the landscape around you. Fields stretch into the distance. Most of them belong not to you, but to your local lord. You work the land, but much of what you produce will never belong to your family. This is the feudal world. Your survival depends on good weather, successful harvests, and the demands of people far more powerful than you. Breakfast, if it can be called that, is waiting. Back inside the cottage, a pot hangs above the fire. Inside is a thin porridge made from oats or barley. There is no sugar, no coffee, no tea, no fresh fruit imported from another country. Just warm grain and hope that it will be enough. You eat slowly. You have learned not to waste food. Every crumb matters. Bad harvests happen often, and hunger is a familiar feeling for nearly everyone around you. As you finish your meal, the village church bell begins to ring in the distance. Its sound echoes across the fields. For the people of medieval Europe, the church is not simply a place of worship. It is the center of community life, the keeper of time, and often the only source of education most people will ever know. But there is little time to think about such things. The workday is about to begin. You step outside once more. The sun has finally risen, but it brings little warmth. Around you, hundreds of men, women, and children are beginning another day of labor. And as you take your first steps toward the fields, one thing becomes painfully clear. You've only been awake for an hour, and already surviving medieval life feels almost impossible.
As the pale morning sun slowly rises over the village, your stomach reminds you of an uncomfortable truth about medieval life. Hunger is never very far away. After spending the night on a rough straw mattress and waking in a smoke-filled cottage, you might imagine that breakfast would provide some comfort. Unfortunately, if you were an ordinary person living in medieval Europe, comfort was rarely on the menu. You return to the small fire burning in the center of your family's home. The flames are weak now, and precious firewood cannot be wasted. Every stick of wood has value. Every piece of fuel represents hours of labor. Hanging above the fire is a blackened iron pot. Inside is breakfast, or at least what passes for breakfast in the medieval world. The meal consists of a thin porridge made from barley, oats, or rye. The texture is thick in some places and watery in others. There is no sugar to sweeten it. Sugar exists, of course, but it is so expensive that most people will never taste it during their entire lives. You dip a wooden spoon into the porridge. It is warm. That, unfortunately, may be its greatest quality. Beside the pot sits a small loaf of dark bread. This is not the soft, fluffy bread many people enjoy today. Medieval bread is dense, coarse, and often contains bits of husks, seeds, and sometimes even tiny pieces of grit from the milling process. Over years of eating such bread, many people's teeth wear down dramatically. You tear off a small piece and chew slowly. The taste is bland, but you're hungry enough not to care. In medieval Europe, hunger isn't an emergency, it's simply part of life. For wealthy nobles and kings, food can be plentiful. Their tables might feature roasted meats, imported spices, fresh fruits, and elaborate feasts. But for ordinary peasants, daily meals are about survival, not enjoyment. Meat is rare. In fact, many peasant families might eat meat only a few times each year, often during religious festivals or special occasions. Chickens provide eggs, cows provide milk. Killing an animal for meat means sacrificing a valuable resource. So instead, people rely heavily on grains, bread, porridge, vegetable soups, and if the harvest fails, even those become scarce. As you eat, smoke continues to fill the room. The fireplace has no proper chimney. Much of the smoke simply drifts through the house before eventually escaping through holes in the roof. Your eyes sting, your throat burns slightly, but this is normal. In fact, medieval homes are so smoky that many visitors from our time would probably find it difficult to remain inside for more than a few minutes. You reach for a cup of water. This introduces another problem. Clean drinking water is surprisingly difficult to find. Many rivers and streams are contaminated by human and animal waste. Wells can become polluted. In towns and cities, sanitation is almost non-existent. As a result, people often drink weak ale or small beer instead of water. These beverages contain very little alcohol compared to modern beer, but they are generally safer than untreated water. Even children drink them. You take a sip. The taste is sour and unfamiliar. Outside, the village is becoming increasingly busy. Farmers walk toward the fields carrying wooden tools. Women prepare for hours of labor inside and outside the home. Children chase animals, collect firewood, or assist their parents with household chores. There is no leisurely morning routine, no checking messages, no sitting quietly with a cup of coffee. The medieval day moves according to the sun, and every moment of daylight is valuable. You glance at your breakfast again. You are still hungry. Unfortunately, feeling hungry after eating is also normal. Most peasants consume enough food to survive, but not enough to feel truly satisfied. During difficult years, entire communities may spend months living on reduced portions. And then there are the years when the crops fail completely. A single bad harvest can lead to famine. 2 bad harvests can destroy entire villages. Weather controls everything. Too much rain ruins crops. Too little rain ruins crops. A harsh winter can wipe out food supplies and livestock alike. There are no supermarkets, no food deliveries, no emergency relief programs, only uncertainty. As you finish the last spoonful of porridge, you carefully scrape the bowl clean. Nothing can be wasted. Not the bread, not the grain, not even the smallest crumb. Your family members do the same. Nobody speaks very much. Conversation requires energy, and energy is precious. Outside, church bells ring once again. The morning work has begun. You stand slowly, already feeling tired despite the fact that the day has barely started. The small meal sitting in your stomach will need to fuel hours of hard physical labor. You know it won't be enough. But in medieval Europe, enough is a luxury very few people ever experience. As you step out into the cold morning air and begin walking toward the fields, one thought becomes impossible to ignore. If breakfast is this difficult, you can only imagine what the rest of the day will bring.
Now that your modest breakfast is over, the real challenge of medieval life begins. And for most people living in the Middle Ages, that challenge is work. Endless, exhausting work. The sun has barely climbed above the horizon, yet the village is already emptying. Men, women, and even children walk toward the fields carrying wooden tools worn smooth by years of use. There is no sound of engines, no machinery, and no modern equipment. Every task ahead of you will be completed with the strength of human muscles and, if you're fortunate, the help of an animal. You join the steady stream of villagers moving through the muddy paths. The air is cool and damp. A light fog hangs over the fields. In the distance, you hear the creaking of wooden carts and the occasional call of a farmer urging an ox to move faster. This land may look peaceful, but appearances can be deceiving.
For a medieval peasant, the land is not a place of beauty, they are a place of survival. The land stretches out before you, divided into long strips of farmland. Most of these fields do not belong to you, they belong to a local lord, and your family works them in exchange for protection and the right to cultivate a small portion for yourselves. This system is called feudalism, and while it provides structure, it also means that much of your hard work benefits someone else. You arrive at your assigned field and look down at the earth beneath your feet. Today's task is plowing. In the modern world, a tractor can prepare acres of land in a matter of hours. In medieval Europe, however, plowing requires tremendous effort. A heavy wooden plow stands before you. If you're lucky, an ox is available to pull it. If not, much of the work depends on your own strength. The soil is damp and stubborn. You push. The plow barely moves. You push again. Slowly, inch by inch, the blade cuts into the earth. Your hands begin to ache almost immediately. Within minutes, your back hurts. Within an hour, your entire body feels exhausted. And yet, the day has only just begun. The medieval workday follows the sun. There are no clocks to check, no scheduled coffee breaks, no weekends to anticipate. You work because you must. Around you, other villagers labor in silence. Some plant seeds, others repair fences. Children gather stones from the fields or chase birds away from valuable crops. Everyone contributes. Even the youngest children learn quickly that survival depends on work. As the morning progresses, the temperature begins to rise. The heavy wool clothing that protected you from the morning cold now traps heat against your body. Sweat runs down your face, dust clings to your skin, but there is no stopping. A failed harvest could mean hunger. A second failed harvest could mean death. This reality hangs over every family, every season, and every year. By midday, you pause briefly to eat. Lunch is simple, perhaps a piece of bread, maybe some onions. If you're fortunate, there might be a small amount of cheese. You sit beneath the shade of a tree and eat slowly, knowing that your body needs every calorie it can get. The break lasts only a short time. Soon you're back in the fields. The afternoon feels even longer than the morning. The sun beats down, your shoulders ache, your hands blister. The repetitive motion of plowing, digging, and carrying becomes almost hypnotic, and yet nobody complains. Not because the work is difficult, but because everyone understands that this is simply life. As you continue working, you glance toward the manor house in the distance. The lord who owns much of this land will likely never experience the exhaustion you're feeling now. His meals will be larger, his bed will be softer, his life will be safer. But that is the nature of medieval society. Everyone has a place, and changing that place is nearly impossible. Hours pass. The shadows grow longer. The sounds of the village slowly begin to return as people prepare to leave the fields. Your body feels heavier with every step. Your hands are covered in dirt. Your clothes smell of sweat and soil. You have spent nearly 12 hours working, and tomorrow you will do exactly the same thing again. There are no labor laws, no paid holidays, no retirement plans, only work. As the sun begins to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold, you finally place your tools down. You should feel accomplished. Instead, you feel only exhaustion. And as you begin the long walk back toward your village, one thought becomes painfully clear. You have survived your first day of labor in medieval Europe, but surviving another one may be even harder. After spending an exhausting day working in the fields, you might hope that returning home would bring comfort, cleanliness and rest. Unfortunately, if you lived in medieval Europe, you would quickly discover that hygiene was another challenge you simply had to endure. As the sun begins to sink below the horizon, you make your way back toward the village. Your clothes are covered in dirt. Your hands are stained with mud. Sweat has dried on your skin, leaving you feeling sticky and uncomfortable. In the modern world, this would be the moment for a hot shower. But in medieval Europe, there are no showers, there are no bathrooms, and for most people, there is very little opportunity to wash at all. You enter your small cottage once again. The familiar smell of smoke, damp straw, and human activity fills the air. After a full day of labor, everyone in the household smells equally unpleasant. This is not unusual. In fact, many medieval people bathed far less frequently than we do today, though the exact habits varied depending on region, season, and social class. The problem was not that people enjoyed being dirty. The problem was that staying clean required enormous effort. Water had to be collected by hand. Firewood had to be gathered. The water then had to be heated over a fire. For a family already struggling to survive, regular bathing was often considered a luxury. Instead, people washed only parts of their bodies when possible. Hands and faces might be cleaned occasionally. A full bath, however, could be a rare event. You remove your heavy wool clothing. Unfortunately, that doesn't solve the problem. Your clothes themselves have absorbed sweat, smoke, dirt, and countless odors over many months of use. Washing clothes is even more difficult than washing your body. Soap exists, but it is crude and expensive. Water remains precious. Time remains limited. As a result, clothing is worn repeatedly before being cleaned. And then there are the insects. Lice are everywhere. Fleas are everywhere. Bedbugs are common companions in homes throughout medieval Europe. Your straw mattress, which seemed uncomfortable enough this morning, also serves as a perfect home for countless tiny creatures. At night, they emerge. People scratch constantly. Children scratch. Adults scratch. Everyone scratches. It is simply another ordinary part of life. The animals don't help either. Chickens wander through homes. Dogs sleep near the fire. Cats hunt mice inside the house. During harsh winters, larger animals may even share living spaces with humans to provide additional warmth. This arrangement has advantages. It also creates smells that are difficult for modern people to imagine. Outside the cottage, conditions can be even worse. The village streets are muddy and covered with waste. There are no modern sewer systems. Human waste, animal waste, food scraps, and household garbage often end up in the same places where people walk every day. After heavy rain, these streets become rivers of mud and filth. The smell hangs in the air, and during the hot summer months, it becomes nearly unbearable. Of course, the people of medieval Europe don't know about bacteria or germs. The scientific understanding of disease will not emerge for centuries. Instead, many believe that illness comes from bad air, divine punishment, or mysterious natural forces. As a result, many practices that seem dangerous to us today appear perfectly normal to them. You decide to wash your hands before eating. A wooden bowl of water is brought inside. The water is cold, very cold. You rinse your hands quickly. There is no soap, no clean towel. The water itself may not even be entirely clean, but it is better than nothing. Dinner is prepared over the fire. Before eating, everyone sits together still wearing the dirt and exhaustion of the day. No one expects perfect cleanliness. Survival matters far more than comfort. As darkness falls, the cottage becomes illuminated only by firelight and candles. The smoke thickens, the air grows warmer, but also harder to breathe. Outside, the sounds of animals gradually fade. Inside, your family prepares to sleep. You return to your straw mattress. You pull the rough wool blanket over your body. You try not to think about the insects. You try not to think about the smell. You try not to think about the fact that tomorrow, after another long day of labor, you will return to exactly the same conditions. And as you close your eyes in the darkness of medieval Europe, you begin to realize something important. The hardest part of surviving the Middle Ages wasn't war, it wasn't famine, it wasn't even disease. It was enduring the endless discomfort of everyday life.
If you've somehow survived your first exhausting day in medieval Europe, there's another experience waiting for you, one that modern people often romanticize but would likely find shocking in reality: a visit to a medieval town. As dawn breaks once again over the countryside, you're given an important task. You must travel to the nearest town to sell a few goods and purchase supplies your family cannot produce themselves. At first, this sounds exciting. After all, medieval towns are often imagined as charming places filled with bustling markets, colorful merchants, and magnificent buildings. And in some ways they are. But before you can enjoy any of that, you must actually get there. The road leading from your village is little more than a dirt path. Rain from previous days has turned much of it into thick mud. Each step requires effort. Your shoes, already worn and uncomfortable, sink into the earth. The journey takes hours. There are no buses, no trains, no bicycles, only your own feet. As you approach the town, you begin to see its walls rising in the distance. Medieval towns often surround themselves with thick stone walls for protection against raids, bandits, and invading armies. From afar, the town looks impressive. Up close, it feels very different. You enter through a heavy wooden gate. Immediately, you notice the crowd. People are everywhere. Merchants shout. Animals wander freely. Children run through the streets. Blacksmiths hammer metal. Cartwheels creak loudly over uneven roads. The town feels alive and incredibly crowded. The streets themselves are narrow, twisting pathways lined with wooden and stone buildings that lean toward one another. In some places, the upper floors extend so far that they almost touch overhead. Sunlight struggles to reach the ground. The air feels heavy. And then there is the smell. It's impossible to ignore. Without modern plumbing or sanitation systems, medieval towns produce enormous amounts of waste. Human waste, animal waste, rotting food, smoke, tanneries processing animal hides, fish markets, open drains. All of these combine into a smell that many visitors would find overwhelming. Residents, however, have little choice but to accept it. As you carefully walk through the crowded streets, you must constantly watch where you step. Waste is often thrown directly into the road. In some towns, people even shout warnings before dumping household waste from upper windows. Unfortunately, not everyone remembers to warn you. Your journey continues toward the marketplace. This is the true heart of the medieval town. Here, merchants from nearby villages and distant lands gather to trade goods. You see stalls selling bread, vegetables, cloth, pottery, candles, tools, and livestock. For a moment, the market feels almost exciting.
You hear languages you don't recognize. You see spices you've never tasted. You watch craftsmen demonstrating skills that took decades to master. But excitement comes with a price. Everything is expensive. For ordinary peasants, purchasing even simple goods requires careful planning. A broken tool can become a financial disaster. A poor harvest can destroy an entire family's future. As you move deeper into the marketplace, you encounter more animals. Horses, pigs, goats, dogs, chickens, all share the same crowded spaces as humans. The noise becomes overwhelming. Merchants advertise their products. Customers argue over prices. Church bells ring in the distance. Blacksmith hammers strike iron again and again. The medieval town never truly feels quiet. You eventually stop near a food vendor. The smell of freshly baked bread fills the air. For a brief moment, your stomach reminds you how little you've eaten. But food in towns can be risky. Without refrigeration, meat spoils quickly. Milk turns sour. Fish may have traveled for days before arriving at the market. Food poisoning is not uncommon. Of course, nobody knows exactly why. People simply understand that certain foods sometimes make people very sick. As the afternoon sun begins to descend, you notice another side of medieval urban life: poverty. Not everyone in town is a merchant or craftsman. Many people survive through begging. Some have lost their homes, others have lost their families. Disease, war, and famine can transform an ordinary citizen into a beggar almost overnight. The line between survival and disaster is very thin. As evening approaches, the town slowly begins to change. Market stalls close, merchants pack their goods, the streets become quieter, but they also become more dangerous. Without streetlights, darkness arrives quickly. Crime becomes a greater concern. Travelers often rush to find shelter before nightfall. You decide it's time to leave. As you walk back toward the city gate, one final realization strikes you. The medieval town is fascinating. It's vibrant, it's busy, it's full of life, but it's also crowded, filthy, dangerous, and exhausting. And after spending only a single day within its walls, you begin to understand why surviving medieval life required far more endurance than most of us could ever imagine.
After surviving the crowded streets of a medieval town, you might assume that returning home means returning to safety. But for most people living in the Middle Ages, the greatest threat was never far away. It wasn't war, disease, or crime. It was hunger. As you leave the town behind and begin the long walk back to your village, your thoughts turn once again to food. Not because you're excited about dinner, but because you're worried there might not be enough. For modern people, hunger is often temporary. If we're hungry, we simply open a refrigerator, visit a restaurant, or stop at a store. In medieval Europe, things were very different. Food was not guaranteed. In fact, for millions of people, the question was not what they would eat. The question was whether they would eat at all. As you arrive back at your village, you see families preparing their evening meals. Thin smoke rises from dozens of small cottages. The smell of boiling vegetables drifts through the air. Tonight's meal is simple, very simple. A pot of pottage hangs over the fire. Pottage is one of the most common foods in medieval Europe. It is not a specific recipe, but rather a mixture of whatever ingredients happen to be available. Some days it contains onions, other days cabbage, perhaps a few beans, maybe some barley, And if your family is particularly fortunate, a small piece of meat might find its way into the pot. But that is rare, very rare. You sit beside the fire and watch the meal slowly cook. The portion will not be large. It never is. The truth is that most medieval peasants spend much of their lives slightly hungry, not starving, not comfortable, simply hungry. It is a constant companion. You think about bread. Bread is the foundation of the medieval diet. Rich people eat fine white bread. Poor people eat darker bread made from rye, barley, or whatever grain is available. Sometimes, during difficult years, bread contains ingredients that aren't grain at all. Ground peas, beans, acorns, even tree bark in the worst circumstances. The goal is not taste, the goal is survival. As darkness begins to fall outside, your father speaks quietly about the weather. Everyone listens because weather determines everything. If there is too much rain, crops fail. If there is too little rain, crops fail. If frost arrives too early, crops fail. If insects arrive in large numbers, crops fail. And when crops fail, people die. The uncertainty is exhausting. Modern people check weather forecasts on their phones. Medieval people watch the sky and pray. You take another spoonful of pottage. It tastes mostly of onions and smoke, but you eat every drop. Nothing can be wasted. Not the vegetables, not the bread, not even the broth remaining at the bottom of the bowl, because nobody knows what tomorrow will bring. You remember stories you've heard from older villagers, stories about famine, stories about years when entire harvests disappeared, stories about families surviving on roots, weeds, and whatever animals they could catch. Some stories are even worse. Historians now know that during severe famines, desperation sometimes drove people to unimaginable acts. Fortunately, your village has not yet reached that point, but everyone understands that it could happen. That knowledge never disappears. Outside, the wind grows stronger. The fire crackles softly. Your family sits quietly. Nobody speaks much. Talking about hunger does not make food appear. And everyone is trying not to think about winter. Winter, the season that medieval people feared more than any other. Winter means frozen ground. Winter means less food. Winter means illness. And for many families, winter means deciding how to divide what little food remains. Children often receive smaller portions. Adults skip meals. Everyone loses weight. Everyone becomes weaker. And still, life continues. You finish your meal. Your stomach feels less empty, but not full. Perhaps medieval people rarely expected to feel full. Perhaps they learned to live with hunger the same way they lived with cold, disease, and hard labor. As the fire burns lower and darkness fills the cottage, you lie back on your straw mattress once again. You try not to think about tomorrow's work. You try not to think about the coming winter. You try not to think about the fact that one bad harvest could destroy everything your family has. And as sleep slowly begins to overtake you, one final thought enters your mind. In medieval Europe, food was never simply food. It was hope, it was fear, and sometimes it was the only thing standing between life and death.
If hunger was the great enemy of medieval life, then disease was its constant shadow. No matter where you lived, how hard you worked, or how carefully you tried to survive, Illness was always waiting. You wake once again before sunrise. The cottage is quiet. For a brief moment, you enjoy the rare feeling of peace. The fire has nearly gone out, and the first light of dawn is just beginning to creak through the cracks in the wooden walls. Then you hear it. A cough. Not your cough, someone else's. Deep, persistent, uncomfortable. In the modern world, a cough is often a minor inconvenience. In medieval Europe, however, a cough can be terrifying because nobody knows what it means. It could disappear tomorrow, or it could be the beginning of something far worse. Disease is everywhere. The village well, the crowded marketplace, the animals living beside humans, the smoke-filled homes, the muddy streets. No one understands germs, bacteria, or viruses. The scientific discoveries that will eventually explain disease are still centuries away. Instead, people try to make sense of illness through religion, superstition, and observation. Some believe disease is a punishment from God. Others believe it spreads through bad air. Some blame unlucky stars or evil spirits. Whatever the cause, one thing is certain. When sickness arrives, fear follows. You step outside into the cold morning air. The village seems quieter than usual. Word has spread. A family living near the edge of the village has become ill. Nobody knows exactly what disease they have. Perhaps it's a fever. Perhaps it's an infection. Perhaps it's something much worse. The uncertainty itself becomes frightening. People avoid the family's cottage. They whisper among themselves. They pray. Because in medieval Europe, medicine offers few guarantees. You remember visiting a healer once as a child. The treatment involved herbs, prayers, and a strange mixture of ingredients whose purpose nobody fully understood. Sometimes these treatments helped. Often they did not. If a person became seriously ill, doctors might recommend bloodletting. The idea was simple. Many believed that disease was caused by an imbalance of bodily fluids known as humors. To restore balance, blood had to be removed. Unfortunately, weakening an already sick patient rarely improved their chances of survival. But few alternatives existed. As you walk toward the fields, you pass the village church. The doors are open. Several villagers are already inside, praying for protection. Religion offers comfort in a world where medicine cannot. When people don't understand why disease spreads, faith becomes one of the few sources of certainty. The morning work begins, but today, everyone seems distracted. Conversations are quieter. People glance toward the distant cottage where the sick family lives. Nobody wants to admit what they're thinking, because everyone knows stories. Stories passed down through generations. Stories about villages where illness spread from one house to another. Stories about entire communities that disappeared. And above all, stories about the plague. Even centuries after major outbreaks, memories of devastating epidemics remain powerful. Parents tell children, grandparents tell grandchildren. The fear never completely disappears. As the day continues, you begin to notice something else. People around you are always sick. Not necessarily dying, just sick. Persistent coughs, infected wounds, fevers, toothaches, stomach illnesses, joint pain. In the modern world, many of these problems are treatable. In medieval Europe, they become lifelong companions. A simple cut can become infected. A toothache can become fatal. Childbirth, one of the most natural experiences in human life, is also one of the most dangerous. Life expectancy is short, not because everyone dies young, but because so many dangers exist. Every year survived feels like an achievement. By afternoon, rumors spread through the village. The sick family's youngest child has become worse. Nobody knows whether the illness will spread. Nobody knows what to do. So people do what medieval people have always done. They hope, they pray, and they wait. As evening approaches, you return home. The village feels quieter than usual. Smoke rises slowly from the cottages. The church bell rings in the distance. You sit beside the fire and think about how fragile life truly is. You survived hunger. You survived exhausting labor. You survived another day. But survival in medieval Europe is never guaranteed. Not tomorrow, not next week, not even tonight. As you lie down once more on your straw mattress, listening to the wind outside and the occasional cough echoing through the village, one thought refuses to leave your mind. In medieval times, the most frightening part of disease wasn't the suffering. It was never knowing if you would be the next person to fall ill.
When most people imagine the Middle Ages, they picture grand castles, powerful kings, elegant nobles, and luxurious banquets. But if you were expecting comfort and luxury behind the thick stone walls of a medieval castle, you might be surprised by the reality. After weeks of labor in the village, you have been sent to deliver supplies to the local lord's castle. From a distance, the castle is magnificent. Its enormous stone walls rise high above the surrounding countryside. Towers stand watch over the landscape, and colorful banners flutter in the wind. For a brief moment, you allow yourself to imagine that life inside these walls must be far better than life in your small cottage. As you approach the castle gate, however, you begin to understand that appearances can be deceiving. The gate itself is enormous. Heavy wooden doors reinforced with iron stand beneath a massive stone archway. Guards watch everyone who enters and leaves. Above you hangs a portcullis, a heavy iron gate that can be dropped instantly if danger appears. The castle was not built for comfort, it was built for survival. You step inside. The first thing you notice is the noise. Servants hurry across the courtyard carrying water, firewood, and supplies. Blacksmiths work near the stables. Horses neigh loudly. Soldiers train with swords and spears. The castle is less like a palace and more like a small city enclosed by stone walls. You expected luxury. Instead, you find activity. As you walk deeper into the castle grounds, another surprise awaits you. The smell. Although castles are grander than villages, they are not necessarily cleaner. Hundreds of people live within these walls. Waste disposal remains primitive. Animals occupy nearby stables. Smoke from fireplaces fills the air. The result is an environment that often smells unpleasant by modern standards. Eventually, you enter the Great Hall. This is the heart of the castle. A massive fireplace dominates one end of the room. Long wooden tables stretch across the floor. Banners hang from the walls, displaying the symbols of noble families. For the first time today, you are impressed. The hall feels powerful, but it doesn't feel comfortable. The stone walls trap cold during winter and remain damp throughout much of the year. Despite the enormous fireplace,
Many rooms inside the castle remain chilly. You touch the stone wall beside you. It's freezing. Suddenly, your small cottage seems slightly less terrible. You observe the servants moving around the hall. There are many of them. Cooking, cleaning, carrying supplies, maintaining fires, serving food. Life inside a castle requires constant labor. Even nobles depend on the work of dozens, sometimes hundreds, of other people. Soon, preparations begin for the evening meal. This, at least, appears more impressive. Large pieces of roasted meat are brought into the hall. Fresh bread appears on wooden platters. There are cheeses, vegetables, and even imported spices. Compared to peasant life, the food is extraordinary. But even noble dining has its problems. There are no refrigerators. Food spoils quickly. Cooking standards vary greatly. And despite wealth and privilege, food poisoning remains a common danger. As dinner begins, you notice another reality of medieval life. Privacy barely exists here either. The lord and his family eat in public view. Servants move constantly around the room. Guests come and go. The Great Hall functions as a dining room, meeting place, courtroom, and social center. Personal space is a luxury few people experience. After the meal, entertainment begins. A musician plays a stringed instrument. A storyteller recites tales of heroes and battles. The audience listens carefully. Without television, radio, or books available to most people, storytelling becomes one of the most important forms of entertainment. For a moment, castle life almost seems enjoyable. Then night arrives. You are shown to the area where guests and servants sleep. It is not a private bedroom. It is a shared sleeping area. The mattress is slightly better than the straw bed in your village, but not by much. The room is cold. The windows let in drafts. The candles provide little light. And somewhere in the darkness you hear the familiar sound of someone scratching at flea bites. Even inside a castle, some things never change. You lie awake for a few moments, staring at the wooden beams above you. Earlier in the day, you thought life inside a castle would be luxurious. Now you realize the truth. Yes, the food is better. Yes, the walls are stronger. Yes, the people are wealthier. But comfort, as we understand it today, barely exists here either. As the castle slowly falls silent and the last firelight flickers against the stone walls, you close your eyes and reach a surprising conclusion. Perhaps medieval life was difficult for everyone. Some people simply suffered in larger buildings than others.
After spending a night inside the castle, you wake to a strange sound echoing through the courtyard below. Voices, dozens of them. Curious, you step outside and discover that today is not an ordinary day. A crowd has gathered. Men, women, and children stand shoulder to shoulder in the castle square. Some whisper quietly, others speak with excitement. Everyone seems to be waiting for something or someone. In medieval Europe, justice is not hidden behind courthouse walls. Justice is public. And today, someone is about to be punished. As you move closer to the crowd, you begin to understand an important truth about medieval life. People live not only with hunger, disease, and hard labor. They also live with fear. The accused man stands near a wooden platform surrounded by guards. You don't know exactly what crime he committed. Perhaps he stole food. Perhaps he failed to pay taxes. Perhaps he violated the laws of his lord. In the modern world, such questions would be answered through investigations, evidence, and legal representation. In medieval Europe, justice often works differently. Evidence can be limited, punishments can be severe, and outcomes can depend heavily on social status. The crowd grows larger. Children sit on their parents' shoulders for a better view. Merchants pause their work. even travelers stop to watch. For many people, public punishment serves not only as justice, but also as entertainment. This realization makes you uncomfortable. But for those living in the Middle Ages, such events are part of everyday life. The local official begins speaking. You cannot hear every word, but the message is clear. The law has been broken. The punishment will now be carried out. Fortunately, not every crime results in execution. In fact, medieval punishments vary widely. Some criminals receive fines. Others are placed in stocks, wooden devices that lock a person's hands and head in place for public humiliation. Some are whipped, others are imprisoned, and some receive punishments that seem shocking by modern standards. The purpose is not always rehabilitation. The purpose is often deterrence. People are meant to witness punishment. People are meant to be afraid. As you watch the crowd react, you begin to understand why medieval authorities rely so heavily on fear. Life is already difficult. Food is scarce. Resources are limited. Maintaining order becomes a matter of survival. A single theft can threaten a family's existence. A violent dispute can destroy an entire community. Strict laws become a way of preserving stability, at least in theory. As the mourning continues, you hear stories from those around you. One man speaks about a neighbor who lost his property after failing to pay debts. Another recalls a traveler who was arrested for poaching game from a lord's forest. Someone else describes highway robbers who attacked merchants on distant roads. Crime exists everywhere, and so does punishment. Yet there is another reality that everyone quietly understands. Justice is not always equal. A nobleman and a peasant accused of the same crime may face very different outcomes. Wealth matters. Power matters. Status matters. This, too, is simply accepted as part of medieval life. As the crowd slowly begins to disperse, you decide to walk through the town. Along the way, you notice reminders of authority everywhere. The castle towers overhead. The church bells ring across the countryside. Soldiers patrol the roads. Laws govern almost every aspect of life. What you wear, where you work, what you hunt, what taxes you pay, even whom you marry can be influenced by social expectations and local authority. Freedom, as many people understand it today, barely exists. Instead, life is built around obligation. Obligation to family, obligation to lord, obligation to church, obligation to survival. As evening approaches, you return to your lodging. The events of the day remain in your thoughts. You think about the crowd. You think about fear. You think about how easily an ordinary person could lose everything. Because in medieval Europe, danger does not always come from war or disease. Sometimes danger comes from breaking a rule you never fully understood. You lie down beneath your rough blanket. Outside, the castle guards continue their watch. Inside, the corridors grow quiet. And as sleep slowly approaches, one final thought enters your mind. In medieval times, surviving wasn't simply about working hard. It was also about avoiding the countless ways your world could turn against you.
After witnessing the harsh realities of medieval justice, you decide it's time to leave the castle behind. Unfortunately, in the Middle Ages, simply traveling from one place to another may be one of the most difficult and dangerous things a person can do. Early the next morning, before the sun has fully risen, you prepare for your journey. There are no train stations, no airports, no buses, no maps on your phone. There is only the road ahead of you. And even calling it a road may be generous. The path stretching into the distance is little more than a muddy track carved into the earth by generations of travelers, carts, horses, and livestock. Rain has fallen during the night. That means today's journey will be even harder. You begin walking. At first, the countryside is beautiful. Morning mist hangs over the fields. Birds sing in the distance. The rising sun paints the landscape in shades of gold and orange. For a brief moment, medieval Europe feels peaceful. But that feeling doesn't last. Within an hour, your feet are already sore. Your leather shoes offer little protection from the uneven ground. Mud clings to every step. Small stones work their way inside your footwear. You stop to remove them, then continue walking. In the modern world, traveling 100 kilometers can take an hour or two. In medieval Europe, that same journey might require several days, sometimes even weeks. The problem isn't just distance, it's everything else. The roads themselves are dangerous. Many are poorly maintained. Some disappear entirely during bad weather. Bridges collapse. Rivers flood. And if you become lost, there are no signs to guide you home. As the morning progresses, you encounter other travelers. A merchant pulling a cart. A group of pilgrims walking toward a distant religious site. Several farmers transporting grain. Everyone travels slowly. Everyone appears tired. Travel in the medieval world is an act of endurance. You stop briefly to speak with an elderly traveler. He warns you not to continue after sunset. At first, you assume he's exaggerating. Then he tells you about bandits. Bandits are a constant fear throughout medieval Europe. Remote roads provide perfect opportunities for robbery. Travelers carrying money, food, or valuable goods become attractive targets. And if you're attacked, help may be hours or even days away. You thank the old man and continue onward. For the rest of the morning, you find yourself looking over your shoulder more often than before. The forest beside the road suddenly feels darker. The silence feels heavier. Every distant sound captures your attention. Fortunately, bandits are not the only danger. There are also accidents. A broken wheel can leave travelers stranded. A horse can become injured. A river crossing can turn deadly after heavy rain. Even a simple fall can become life-threatening if medical help is unavailable. By midday, exhaustion begins to set in. You sit beneath a tree and eat a small piece of bread saved from yesterday. It isn't much, but carrying large amounts of food while traveling is difficult, and food purchased on the road can be expensive. As you rest, you realize something surprising. Travel in medieval Europe is often boring, not relaxing, not peaceful. Simply long, hour after hour of walking, the same road, the same trees, the same aching feet. Perhaps this is why medieval travelers often relied on stories, songs, and prayers to pass the time. Eventually, the afternoon sun begins its slow descent. You estimate that you've traveled perhaps 20 kilometers today, maybe less.
In the modern world, such a distance barely seems worth mentioning. In medieval Europe, it feels like a major achievement. Then you notice clouds gathering overhead. Dark clouds, heavy clouds, rain clouds. Your pace quickens. You know what rain means. More mud, more danger, more discomfort. And traveling after sunset is a risk few people willingly take. As the first drops begin to fall, you finally see what you've been hoping for all day, a small roadside inn. The building itself is simple. The roof leaks, the rooms are crowded, the food will probably be disappointing, and yet at this moment it looks like the greatest luxury in the world. You step inside. The room is warm. A fire burns in the hearth. Other travelers sit quietly, sharing stories of distant places and difficult journeys. For the first time all day, you feel safe, at least for now. As darkness settles outside and rain beats softly against the roof, you lie down on another uncomfortable bed. Your feet hurt, your back hurts, your entire body hurts. And suddenly, you understand something that every medieval traveler knew. The hardest part of a journey wasn't reaching your destination, it was surviving the road itself.
After surviving the dangers of medieval travel, you spend the night at a crowded roadside inn. As dawn arrives once again, you notice something that modern visitors to the Middle Ages often forget. Children are already awake and working. In today's world, childhood is often associated with school, games, toys, and carefree afternoons. In medieval Europe, childhood is something very different. It is short, very short. As you step outside the inn, the morning air is cool and damp. A young boy, perhaps no older than 7, is already carrying a bucket nearly half his size. Nearby, a girl who cannot be more than 8 years old helps prepare food for travelers. Neither of them appears surprised. Neither of them complains. For them, this is simply life. In medieval society, children are not viewed as separate from the adult world. Instead, they are expected to become useful members of society as quickly as possible. This doesn't mean parents don't love their children. They do, but survival requires everyone to contribute. You continue your journey and arrive at a nearby village. Almost immediately, you notice children everywhere. Some collect firewood, some tend livestock, others help their parents work in the fields. Even very young children are given responsibilities. A 6-year-old may watch chickens, an 8-year-old may help plant crops. A 10-year-old may already be performing work that many adults today would consider exhausting. School, as we know it, barely exists for ordinary people. Education is primarily available to the wealthy or those connected to religious institutions. Most children never learn to read or write. Instead, they learn practical skills: how to farm, how to cook, how to repair tools, how to survive. As you walk through the village, you hear children laughing. This surprises you, because despite the hardships of medieval life, children still find ways to play. They chase one another through muddy streets, they throw stones, they play simple games using sticks, balls made of cloth, and whatever objects they can find. Childhood joy still exists.
It simply exists alongside responsibility. You stop to speak with an elderly villager. He tells you that many children begin apprenticeships around the age of 10 or 12. A boy might become a blacksmith's apprentice. Another might learn carpentry. A girl may learn domestic skills, weaving, or other trades important to family life. The transition from childhood to adulthood happens quickly, far more quickly than in the modern world. But there is another reality that nobody likes to discuss. Not every child survives. In fact, many do not. Disease, malnutrition, accidents, these dangers surround children from the moment they are born. Parents understand this. It is one of the greatest tragedies of medieval life. A family may have many children, knowing that some may never reach adulthood. You think about modern medicine, vaccines, hospitals, antibiotics. None of these exist here. A simple fever can become fatal. A small injury can become infected. A difficult winter can change everything. As afternoon arrives, you watch a group of children helping with the harvest. They work hard, they work seriously, and yet every so often one of them laughs, another tells a joke, another points toward the clouds and smiles. Even in difficult times, people remain people. Perhaps that is the most remarkable thing of all. As the sun slowly begins to set, families gather together. Children return home carrying tools, buckets, and bundles of firewood. Tomorrow, they will wake before sunrise. Tomorrow, they will work again, and the day after that, and the day after that. Because childhood in medieval Europe is not a protected stage of life, it is preparation for survival. That evening, as you sit quietly beside a fire and listen to the distant sounds of families settling in for the night, you find yourself thinking about how different your own childhood might have been. No schools, no weekends, no toys, no certainty about tomorrow. Only family, work, and the hope of living long enough to become an adult. As darkness falls and the stars slowly appear overhead, one final realization settles into your mind. If you had been born in medieval times, you probably wouldn't have had the chance to be a child for very long. After surviving the dangers of medieval travel, you spend the night at a crowded roadside inn. As dawn arrives once again, you notice something that modern visitors to the Middle Ages often forget. Children are already awake and working. In today's world, childhood is often associated with school, games, toys, and carefree afternoons. In medieval Europe, childhood is something very different. It is short, very short. As you step outside the inn, the morning air is cool and damp. A young boy, perhaps no older than 7, is already carrying a bucket nearly half his size. Nearby, a girl who cannot be more than 8 years old helps prepare food for travelers. Neither of them appears surprised. Neither of them complains. For them, this is simply life. In medieval society, children are not viewed as separate from the adult world. Instead, they are expected to become useful members of society as quickly as possible. This doesn't mean parents don't love their children. They do, but survival requires everyone to contribute. You continue your journey and arrive at a nearby village. Almost immediately, you notice children everywhere. Some collect firewood, some tend livestock, others help their parents work in the fields. Even very young children are given responsibilities. A 6-year-old may watch chickens, an 8-year-old may help plant crops. A 10-year-old may already be performing work that many adults today would consider exhausting. School, as we know it, barely exists for ordinary people. Education is primarily available to the wealthy or those connected to religious institutions. Most children never learn to read or write. Instead, they learn practical skills: how to farm, how to cook, how to repair tools, how to survive. As you walk through the village, you hear children laughing. This surprises you, because despite the hardships of medieval life, children still find ways to play. They chase one another through muddy streets, they throw stones, they play simple games using sticks, balls made of cloth, and whatever objects they can find. Childhood joy still exists. It simply exists alongside responsibility. You stop to speak with an elderly villager. He tells you that many children begin apprenticeships around the age of 10 or 12. A boy might become a blacksmith's apprentice. Another might learn carpentry. A girl may learn domestic skills, weaving, or other trades important to family life. The transition from childhood to adulthood happens quickly, far more quickly than in the modern world. But there is another reality that nobody likes to discuss. Not every child survives. In fact, many do not. Disease, malnutrition, accidents, these dangers surround children from the moment they are born. Parents understand this. It is one of the greatest tragedies of medieval life. A family may have many children, knowing that some may never reach adulthood. You think about modern medicine, vaccines, hospitals, antibiotics. None of these exist here. A simple fever can become fatal. A small injury can become infected. A difficult winter can change everything. As afternoon arrives, you watch a group of children helping with the harvest. They work hard, they work seriously, and yet every so often one of them laughs, another tells a joke, another points toward the clouds and smiles. Even in difficult times, people remain people. Perhaps that is the most remarkable thing of all. As the sun slowly begins to set, families gather together. Children return home carrying tools, buckets, and bundles of firewood. Tomorrow, they will wake before sunrise. Tomorrow, they will work again, and the day after that, and the day after that. Because childhood in medieval Europe is not a protected stage of life, it is preparation for survival. That evening, as you sit quietly beside a fire and listen to the distant sounds of families settling in for the night, you find yourself thinking about how different your own childhood might have been. No schools, no weekends, no toys, no certainty about tomorrow. Only family, work, and the hope of living long enough to become an adult. As darkness falls and the stars slowly appear overhead, one final realization settles into your mind. If you had been born in medieval times, you probably wouldn't have had the chance to be a child for very long.
After days of traveling, working, and witnessing the countless hardships of medieval life, you finally arrive at the end of another long day. The sun is setting, the air is growing colder, and for the people of the Middle Ages, night brings both relief and uncertainty. As the last rays of sunlight disappear beyond the horizon, medieval Europe begins to change. The busy roads grow quiet, the markets close, the sounds of hammers, carts, and merchants slowly fade away. Darkness arrives quickly. There are no street lights, no electric lamps, no glowing windows visible for miles. Only darkness. And in the medieval world, darkness feels very different from the darkness we know today. You return to a small village where you'll spend the night.
As you walk through the narrow dirt paths, the only light comes from a few flickering candles and the occasional fire burning inside a cottage. The shadows seem larger, the silence seems deeper. For many medieval people, night is a time of uncertainty. The darkness hides dangers, wild animals, thieves, strangers, and for some, even things more frightening. Because in the Middle Ages, superstition is part of everyday life. Many people believe that spirits, demons, and supernatural forces become more powerful after sunset. Stories of ghosts, witches, and mysterious creatures are told around fires throughout Europe. Whether these stories are true doesn't really matter. People believe them, and belief itself shapes the world around them. You enter the cottage where you'll spend the night. The room is warm compared to the cold outside, but only just. A small fire burns in the center of the room, casting dancing shadows against the walls. Several other travelers sit nearby. Nobody speaks very loudly. After a long day of labor and travel, everyone is exhausted. Dinner is simple: a bowl of vegetable stew, a piece of coarse bread, perhaps a little cheese if you're fortunate. Nobody complains. Everyone eats slowly and carefully. Food remains precious. As the fire crackles softly, an older traveler begins telling stories. He speaks of distant kingdoms, of battles fought many years ago, of kings and knights, and eventually, as often happens in medieval storytelling, he begins speaking about things that cannot easily be explained. Strange lights in forests, voices heard during storms, travelers who disappeared on lonely roads. The younger listeners move closer to the fire. Even the adults listen carefully, because the medieval world is filled with mystery. There are no scientific explanations for many things people experience. The unknown remains truly unknown. Outside, the wind grows stronger. You hear it moving through the trees. The sound is strangely comforting and strangely frightening. Eventually, one by one, the travelers prepare for sleep. Candles are extinguished, the room grows darker, the fire burns lower. You spread a rough blanket over your straw mattress. It isn't comfortable, but after everything you've experienced, comfort no longer seems important. As you lie down, you think about everything you've seen: the cold cottages, the endless labor, the hunger, the disease, the castles, the punishments, the dangerous roads, the children forced to grow up too quickly. You realize something unexpected. The people of medieval Europe were incredibly resilient. They endured hardships that many of us can barely imagine. And somehow, despite all of it, they continued. They worked, they loved, they laughed, they hoped. The fire beside you slowly fades into glowing embers. Outside, the village has become silent. Above you, through a small opening in the roof, you can see the night sky. Without electric lights, the stars appear brighter than you have ever seen them. Thousands upon thousands of stars. For a moment, the world feels peaceful. Perhaps this is what medieval people felt too. Not comfort, not safety, but acceptance. Tomorrow will bring more work, more uncertainty, more struggle, but tomorrow has not arrived yet. For now, there is only the sound of the wind, the fading warmth of the fire, and the endless stars above. And as sleep finally begins to take hold, one final thought drifts through your mind. You may not have lasted very long in medieval times, but for one long, difficult, unforgettable day, you survived.
If you thought that life as a peasant in medieval Europe was difficult, there was one profession that could be even more dangerous: becoming a soldier. Contrary to the stories of heroic knights and glorious battles, medieval warfare was often exhausting, terrifying, and brutally unforgiving. The morning begins with the sound of bells. Not church bells, alarm bells. Word has spread throughout the region that a local lord is preparing his forces. Rumors of conflict have been growing for weeks, and now it appears that war may finally be coming. In the modern world, news travels instantly. In medieval Europe, news travels slowly. Often, by the time people hear about danger, it is already very close. As you leave the village square, you notice groups of men gathering. Some carry spears, others carry axes, bows, or farming tools converted into weapons. Very few look excited, most look frightened, because despite what stories and paintings may suggest, war is rarely glorious for the people who fight it. You imagine what it would be like to serve as a medieval soldier. First, there is the equipment. If you are wealthy, perhaps you own armor. If you are a nobleman, perhaps you ride a horse. But if you are an ordinary person, and most soldiers are, you have very little protection. A simple helmet, a wooden shield, a spear, and hope. Lots of hope. The army begins to move. Not quickly. Medieval armies travel at walking speed. Thousands of people, animals, wagons, and supplies move together across muddy roads and open fields. The journey itself can be more dangerous than the battle. Food runs short, water becomes scarce, disease spreads rapidly, bad weather turns roads into rivers of mud, and every day brings uncertainty. You march for hours, then days, then weeks. Your feet ache, your shoulders ache. You sleep on the ground, you wake up cold, and all the while you know that somewhere ahead another army may be waiting. As the soldiers walk, stories spread through the camp. Stories about famous battles, stories about heroic knights, stories about victories, but also stories about defeat, because defeat in medieval warfare can be catastrophic. There are no helicopters to evacuate the wounded, no antibiotics to treat infections, no modern hospitals waiting nearby. If you are seriously injured, your chances of survival are uncertain, very uncertain. Eventually, after many days of marching, the army stops. The enemy is near. The atmosphere changes immediately. The conversations become quieter. The jokes disappear. Even the experienced soldiers look nervous, because everyone understands a simple truth. Once battle begins, very little remains under anyone's control. The next morning arrives. Fog covers the field. You stand among hundreds of other soldiers. Some pray, some remain silent, some stare into the distance. The commanders shout orders, trumpets sound, and then, slowly, the armies begin moving toward one another. At this moment, everything changes. The romantic image of medieval warfare disappears. There is no dramatic music, no heroic speeches, only fear. You hear shouting, you hear metal striking metal, you hear horses screaming, you hear men calling for help. The battlefield quickly becomes confusing and chaotic. Dust fills the air, visibility disappears. Nobody knows exactly what is happening. People fight not because they feel brave, but because they are terrified of what will happen if they stop. The battle seems to last forever. In reality, many medieval battles are surprisingly short, sometimes less than an hour, but for those involved, every minute feels endless. Eventually, the fighting ends. The survivors look around. The field is quiet, too quiet. Victory no longer feels exciting. Defeat no longer matters. Everyone is simply relieved to still be alive. As the army begins the long journey home, you realize something important. Most medieval soldiers never sought glory. They sought survival, and often survival itself was the greatest victory possible. That evening, as you sit beside a campfire beneath the stars, listening to exhausted men speak softly about home, you reach a conclusion that few medieval storytellers would ever admit. If you had lived in the Middle Ages, becoming a soldier might have been the last job you would ever want.
After witnessing the fear and uncertainty of medieval warfare, you begin to understand something else about life in the Middle Ages. In a world filled with hunger, disease, and danger, people needed something to help them make sense of it all. For most of medieval Europe, that something was faith. The morning after the battle, camp is unusually quiet. The soldiers who survived speak softly. Some pray. Others simply stare into the fire, reflecting on everything they have experienced. As you continue your journey through medieval Europe, one thing becomes impossible to ignore. The church is everywhere. No matter how small the village, no matter how distant the town, no matter how poor the community, a church tower almost always rises above the surrounding landscape. For medieval people, religion is not something practiced once a week. It is part of every hour of every day. As you enter a small village, the church bell begins to ring. Its sound echoes across the fields and through the narrow streets. The bell tells people when to wake, when to work, when to pray, when to gather. In many ways, the church serves as the clock of medieval life. You join the villagers as they walk toward the stone building at the center of the community. Some wear their best clothing. Others arrive still covered in dirt from their work. But everyone comes. Because faith is not simply a personal belief, it is a shared experience. As you step inside, the air feels cool and still. Candles flicker softly. Sunlight filters through colored glass windows. The smell of wax and incense fills the room. For a moment, the hardships of everyday life seem far away. The church offers something rare in medieval Europe: hope. For many people, life on earth is difficult and uncertain, but faith promises meaning beyond hunger, disease, and suffering. This belief provides comfort in a world where comfort is often difficult to find. You notice that many villagers cannot read. In fact, most people in medieval Europe are illiterate. As a result, churches become places not only of worship, but also of education. Paintings, stained glass, sculptures, stories told by priests. all help explain religious teachings to people who may never read a book. Outside the church, life continues. Markets open. Children play. Farmers return to their fields. But religion remains present in everything they do. Before meals, people pray. Before journeys, people pray. During illness, people pray. After surviving danger, people pray. Faith shapes every major event in life. Birth, marriage, death, and everything in between. As the day continues, you learn about the many religious festivals celebrated throughout the year. These holidays provide rare opportunities for rest and celebration. Villagers gather together. Food is shared. Music is played. Stories are told. For many ordinary people, religious festivals are among the happiest moments of the year. Yet faith also brings fear. Many medieval people worry constantly about sin, about judgment, about what happens after death. Life expectancy is uncertain. Disease can strike at any moment. War can arrive without warning. As a result, questions about the afterlife feel immediate and deeply personal. As evening approaches, you climb a small hill overlooking the village. The church bell rings once more. Smoke rises from the cottages below. The setting sun casts long shadows across the fields. You begin to understand why religion held such enormous power during the Middle Ages. It provided answers. It provided community. It provided hope. And perhaps most importantly, it provided meaning. In a world where so much remained unknown, faith offered certainty. As darkness slowly settles across the countryside and the final church bell echoes through the night air, you reflect on everything you've learned. The people of medieval Europe lived difficult lives. They faced hunger, disease, war, and endless hard work. Yet through all of it, they held tightly to something they believed could never be taken away: their faith. And as you look up at the stars appearing one by one above the medieval world, you realize that for millions of people, faith was not simply part of life, it was what made life bearable.
If there was one season that medieval people feared more than war, disease, or even hunger, it was winter. Because in the Middle Ages, winter was not simply a season, it was a test of survival. As autumn slowly disappears, you begin to notice changes everywhere. The days become shorter, the mornings become colder. The fields that once provided food now stand empty beneath gray skies. For modern people, winter means warm homes, electric heating, and well-stocked stores. For people living in medieval Europe, winter means uncertainty, and uncertainty can be deadly. You return to your village just as the first frost appears on the ground. The harvest season has ended. Now comes the difficult question that every family asks themselves: have we stored enough food? No one knows the answer, not really. The grain harvested during autumn must last until spring. The vegetables stored in cellars must survive the cold months ahead. Every loaf of bread, every onion, every piece of dried meat, every handful of grain, all of it suddenly becomes precious. As temperatures continue to fall, daily life begins to change. People spend more time indoors. Travel becomes increasingly difficult. Mud turns into ice.
Roads become dangerous. Entire villages can become isolated for weeks. The world itself seems to shrink. Inside your cottage, preparations for winter continue. Firewood is stacked carefully. Blankets are repaired. Clothing is patched and reused. Nothing can be wasted. Not now, perhaps not ever. The fire burns constantly, or at least you hope it will, because heating a medieval home is a constant struggle. The fire provides warmth. It also provides light and the ability to cook food. If the fire goes out, life immediately becomes much harder. You move closer to the flames. Even then, parts of the room remain cold. The walls offer little insulation. Cold air enters through cracks and openings. At night, frost sometimes forms inside the house itself. You pull your wool blanket tighter around your shoulders. It helps, but not much. Outside, snow begins to fall. At first, it is beautiful. Children run outside to watch it. For a brief moment, the village seems peaceful. Then reality returns. Snow means difficulty. Snow means isolation. Snow means danger. As the weeks pass, food supplies begin to shrink. Meals become smaller. The bread grows thinner. The soup becomes more water than vegetables. Nobody says anything. Everyone notices. Everyone worries. You hear stories from older villagers, stories about terrible winters, stories about families who exhausted their food supplies before spring arrived, stories about people who simply disappeared during particularly harsh years. Nobody likes telling these stories, but nobody forgets them either. The cold affects everything. Work becomes harder. Sleep becomes harder. Staying healthy becomes harder. Even gathering firewood becomes dangerous. A single accident in deep winter can become a tragedy. And then there is illness. Winter brings coughs, fevers, infections, weakness. Without modern medicine, even common illnesses become frightening. You notice that the village church has become more crowded. People pray for warmer weather, for healthy children, for enough food, for survival. Perhaps prayer is one of the few things that winter cannot take away. As the darkest part of winter arrives, the days seem incredibly short. The sun rises late. The sun sets early. Much of life is spent in darkness. You sit beside the fire one evening and listen to the wind outside. It howls through the trees. It rattles the walls of your cottage. For a moment, you wonder if spring will ever come. Then you look around. Your family is still here. The fire is still burning. You still have food. Not much, but enough. And suddenly you understand something important about medieval life. People did not survive because life was easy. They survived because they adapted to hardship. They accepted uncertainty. They endured. As the fire slowly burns lower and the cold winter night stretches out endlessly ahead, you pull your blanket around yourself one final time. Outside, snow continues to fall across the silent medieval world. And before sleep finally arrives, one thought lingers in your mind. For the people of the Middle Ages, surviving winter was not a seasonal inconvenience. It was one of humanity's greatest annual challenges.
Of all the dangers faced by people living in the Middle Ages, none inspired more fear than the plague. Wars ended, winters passed, harvests eventually returned. But when the plague arrived, entire communities watched their world change forever. It begins with a rumor. a traveler arrives from a distant town and tells a story that seems almost impossible to believe. People are dying. Not one or two, not dozens, hundreds. At first, few believe him. After all, rumors travel quickly in medieval Europe, and many turn out to be exaggerated. But within weeks, more travelers arrive, and they tell the same story. Villages abandoned, markets closed, church bells ringing day and night, families disappearing. Something terrible is spreading. You notice the change immediately. People begin speaking more quietly. Merchants avoid crowded markets. Travelers hesitate before entering unfamiliar towns. Fear itself begins spreading faster than any disease. In the modern world, we often expect explanations. In medieval Europe, explanations are much harder to find. Some believe the disease is a punishment from God. Others blame unusual weather. Some believe the stars themselves have become misaligned. Nobody truly understands what is happening. Today, historians know that the plague spread through complex interactions involving fleas, rodents, and human populations. But for those living through it, the cause remains a terrifying mystery. As you continue your journey, you arrive at a village unlike any you have ever seen. It is silent. No children play in the streets. No merchants call from market stalls. No farmers work in the fields. The only sound is the wind. You walk slowly through the village. Doors remain closed. Windows are shuttered. Smoke no longer rises from many of the cottages. The silence itself feels frightening. Eventually, you encounter an elderly man sitting outside a small house. He tells you that only a few months earlier, the village had been full of life. Now, many of the people who lived there are gone. He does not say their names. He simply stares toward the empty fields. And somehow, that feels even more heartbreaking. As the plague spreads throughout Europe, everyday life begins to collapse. Trade slows, travel becomes dangerous, entire regions become isolated. Fear changes the way people behave. Friends avoid one another, families become separated, strangers become objects of suspicion. No one knows who might become sick next. You think about what it must feel like to wake each morning uncertain whether your family will survive the week, to hear church bells ringing again and again, to watch familiar faces disappear, and to have no idea how to stop it. The medical treatments available offer little help. Doctors wear protective clothing based on theories that later generations will discover are incorrect. Herbal remedies are tried, prayers are offered. Hope itself becomes a form of medicine. Sometimes it is all that remains. As evening falls, you stop outside a monastery. The monks continue their work despite the danger. They care for the sick, they record events, they pray. In times of great uncertainty, many people turn toward faith even more strongly than before, because when answers cannot be found, belief often becomes a source of strength. You sit quietly and watch the sun disappear beyond the horizon. The world around you feels different now, not because the landscape has changed, but because you understand how fragile everything truly is. The villages, the markets, the castles, the families, all of them depend on something easily lost: tomorrow. As darkness settles over the medieval countryside, you think about the millions of people who lived through these terrifying years. Some survived, many did not. Yet somehow, life continued. communities rebuilt, fields were planted again, children grew up, the world moved forward. And perhaps that is the most remarkable part of this story. Not the disease itself, but the extraordinary resilience of the people who endured it. As the stars appear overhead and the medieval world grows silent once more, one final thought remains with you. The Black Death was not merely a historical event. For those who lived through it, it was the moment when the world they knew seemed to come to an end.
After witnessing the devastation of plague and disease, you might naturally hope that medieval medicine could offer comfort or a cure. Unfortunately, if you lived in the Middle Ages, visiting a doctor was often an experience almost as frightening as the illness itself. The morning begins with pain. Not a dramatic pain, not the kind that suddenly stops you in your tracks, just a persistent, throbbing ache. Perhaps it started with a tooth, or a cut on your hand, or a fever that refused to go away. In the modern world, you might schedule an appointment, visit a clinic, and receive treatment within hours. In medieval Europe, your options are far more limited and far more uncertain. As word spreads through the village that you are ill, neighbors begin offering advice. Everyone has a remedy. One person recommends herbs, another suggests prayer. Someone else insists that the problem is caused by bad air. No one agrees, yet everyone is certain. Eventually, you decide to seek help. The nearest healer lives several miles away. The journey itself is exhausting. By the time you arrive, you already feel worse than when you left. The healer's home is crowded. People wait quietly. Some cough. Some hold injured limbs. Some simply stare at the floor, hoping for relief. You soon discover an uncomfortable truth about medieval medicine. There is no single type of doctor. There are physicians, barber surgeons, herbal healers, monks, and countless local practitioners. Each offers different treatments, each believes different things, and each works with limited knowledge. A physician, if you can afford one, may ask about your symptoms. He might examine your pulse. He might study the color of your urine. Yes, your urine. In medieval medicine, urine is considered one of the body's most important clues. Doctors carefully inspect it, searching for signs of imbalance, because according to the medical theories of the time, illness is often caused by disturbances in the body's four humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, black bile. Restore the balance, and health should return, at least in theory. If the physician believes you have too much blood, he may recommend bloodletting. This treatment is exactly what it sounds like. Blood is removed from your body in the hope that doing so will cure your illness. Sometimes leeches are used, sometimes knives. The experience is unpleasant. The results are unpredictable. Yet bloodletting remains one of the most common medical treatments in medieval Europe. You begin to wonder whether staying home might have been the better choice. Then you meet the barber surgeon. In medieval society, barbers do more than cut hair. They also perform surgery. This sounds alarming, and honestly, it is. Barber surgeons pull teeth, treat wounds,
set broken bones, and perform operations without anesthesia, without antiseptics, without a full understanding of infection. You think about tooth pain. Today, a dentist can numb the area and solve the problem quickly. In medieval Europe, the solution is simpler. The tooth is pulled. You hope for the best. The patient hopes for the best. Everyone hopes for the best, because hope remains one of the strongest medicines available. As you continue observing medieval healthcare, you notice something else. Many treatments involve plants and herbs. Some of these remedies are surprisingly effective. Certain herbs help reduce pain. Others may treat infections or digestive problems. Through centuries of observation, many healers discover useful treatments even without understanding why they work. But other remedies are less successful, very less successful. Mixtures of strange ingredients, questionable procedures, superstitious rituals. In desperate times, people try almost anything. As evening approaches, you begin your journey home. You feel tired, you feel uncertain, and you feel deeply grateful for modern medicine. You think about antibiotics, vaccines, painkillers, surgery performed under anesthesia, clean hospitals, scientific research, all things that medieval people could scarcely imagine. Yet despite everything, medieval healers continue doing what they can. They comfort patients, they provide hope, they try. And perhaps that effort deserves more respect than modern people sometimes give it. As darkness falls and you finally return to your cottage, one thought becomes impossible to ignore. In medieval Europe, getting sick was frightening, but seeking treatment could sometimes be even more terrifying.
After days of traveling, working, and witnessing the countless hardships of medieval life, you finally arrive at the end of another long day. The sun is setting, the air is growing colder, and for the people of the Middle Ages, night brings both relief and uncertainty. As the last rays of sunlight disappear beyond the horizon, medieval Europe begins to change. The busy roads grow quiet, the markets close, the sounds of hammers, carts, and merchants slowly fade away. Darkness arrives quickly. There are no street lights, no electric lamps, no glowing windows visible for miles. Only darkness. And in the medieval world, darkness feels very different from the darkness we know today. You return to a small village where you'll spend the night. As you walk through the narrow dirt paths, the only light comes from a few flickering candles and the occasional fire burning inside a cottage. The shadows seem larger, the silence seems deeper. For many medieval people, night is a time of uncertainty. The darkness hides dangers, wild animals, thieves, strangers, and for some, even things more frightening. Because in the Middle Ages, superstition is part of everyday life. Many people believe that spirits, demons, and supernatural forces become more powerful after sunset. Stories of ghosts, witches, and mysterious creatures are told around fires throughout Europe. Whether these stories are true doesn't really matter. People believe them, and belief itself shapes the world around them. You enter the cottage where you'll spend the night. The room is warm compared to the cold outside, but only just.
A small fire burns in the center of the room, casting dancing shadows against the walls. Several other travelers sit nearby. Nobody speaks very loudly. After a long day of labor and travel, everyone is exhausted. Dinner is simple: a bowl of vegetable stew, a piece of coarse bread, perhaps a little cheese if you're fortunate. Nobody complains. Everyone eats slowly and carefully. Food remains precious. As the fire crackles softly, an older traveler begins telling stories. He speaks of distant kingdoms, of battles fought many years ago, of kings and knights, and eventually, as often happens in medieval storytelling, he begins speaking about things that cannot easily be explained. Strange lights in forests, voices heard during storms, travelers who disappeared on lonely roads. The younger listeners move closer to the fire. Even the adults listen carefully, because the medieval world is filled with mystery. There are no scientific explanations for many things people experience. The unknown remains truly unknown. Outside, the wind grows stronger. You hear it moving through the trees. The sound is strangely comforting and strangely frightening. Eventually, one by one, the travelers prepare for sleep. Candles are extinguished, the room grows darker, the fire burns lower. You spread a rough blanket over your straw mattress. It isn't comfortable, but after everything you've experienced, comfort no longer seems important. As you lie down, you think about everything you've seen: the cold cottages, the endless labor, the hunger, the disease, the castles, the punishments, the dangerous roads, the children forced to grow up too quickly. You realize something unexpected. The people of medieval Europe were incredibly resilient. They endured hardships that many of us can barely imagine. And somehow, despite all of it, they continued. They worked, they loved, they laughed, they hoped. The fire beside you slowly fades into glowing embers. Outside, the village has become silent. Above you, through a small opening in the roof, you can see the night sky. Without electric lights, the stars appear brighter than you have ever seen them. Thousands upon thousands of stars. For a moment, the world feels peaceful. Perhaps this is what medieval people felt too. Not comfort, not safety, but acceptance. Tomorrow will bring more work, more uncertainty, more struggle, but tomorrow has not arrived yet. For now, there is only the sound of the wind, the fading warmth of the fire, and the endless stars above. And as sleep finally begins to take hold, one final thought drifts through your mind. You may not have lasted very long in medieval times, but for one long, difficult, unforgettable day, you survived.
If you thought that life as a peasant in medieval Europe was difficult, there was one profession that could be even more dangerous: becoming a soldier. Contrary to the stories of heroic knights and glorious battles, medieval warfare was often exhausting, terrifying, and brutally unforgiving. The morning begins with the sound of bells. Not church bells, alarm bells. Word has spread throughout the region that a local lord is preparing his forces. Rumors of conflict have been growing for weeks, and now it appears that war may finally be coming. In the modern world, news travels instantly. In medieval Europe, news travels slowly. Often, by the time people hear about danger, it is already very close. As you leave the village square, you notice groups of men gathering. Some carry spears, others carry axes, bows, or farming tools converted into weapons. Very few look excited, most look frightened, because despite what stories and paintings may suggest, war is rarely glorious for the people who fight it. You imagine what it would be like to serve as a medieval soldier. First, there is the equipment. If you are wealthy, perhaps you own armor. If you are a nobleman, perhaps you ride a horse. But if you are an ordinary person, and most soldiers are, you have very little protection. A simple helmet, a wooden shield, a spear, and hope. Lots of hope. The army begins to move. Not quickly. Medieval armies travel at walking speed. Thousands of people, animals, wagons, and supplies move together across muddy roads and open fields. The journey itself can be more dangerous than the battle. Food runs short, water becomes scarce, disease spreads rapidly, bad weather turns roads into rivers of mud, and every day brings uncertainty. You march for hours, then days, then weeks. Your feet ache, your shoulders ache. You sleep on the ground, you wake up cold, and all the while you know that somewhere ahead another army may be waiting. As the soldiers walk, stories spread through the camp. Stories about famous battles, stories about heroic knights, stories about victories, but also stories about defeat. Because defeat in medieval warfare can be catastrophic. There are no helicopters to evacuate the wounded, no antibiotics to treat infections, no modern hospitals waiting nearby. If you are seriously injured, your chances of survival are uncertain, very uncertain. Eventually, after many days of marching, the army stops. The enemy is near. The atmosphere changes immediately. The conversations become quieter. The jokes disappear. Even the experienced soldiers look nervous, because everyone understands a simple truth. Once battle begins, very little remains under anyone's control. The next morning arrives. Fog covers the field. You stand among hundreds of other soldiers. Some pray, some remain silent, some stare into the distance. The commanders shout orders, trumpets sound, and then, slowly, the armies begin moving toward one another. At this moment, everything changes. The romantic image of medieval warfare disappears. There is no dramatic music, no heroic speeches, only fear. You hear shouting, you hear metal striking metal, you hear horses screaming, you hear men calling for help. The battlefield quickly becomes confusing and chaotic. Dust fills the air, visibility disappears. Nobody knows exactly what is happening. People fight not because they feel brave, but because they are terrified of what will happen if they stop. The battle seems to last forever. In reality, many medieval battles are surprisingly short, sometimes less than an hour, but for those involved, every minute feels endless. Eventually, the fighting ends. The survivors look around. The field is quiet, too quiet. Victory no longer feels exciting. Defeat no longer matters. Everyone is simply relieved to still be alive. As the army begins the long journey home, you realize something important. Most medieval soldiers never sought glory. They sought survival, and often survival itself was the greatest victory possible. That evening,
as you sit beside a campfire beneath the stars, listening to exhausted men speak softly about home, you reach a conclusion that few medieval storytellers would ever admit. If you had lived in the Middle Ages, becoming a soldier might have been the last job you would ever want.
After experiencing every hardship the medieval world could offer, there is one final question left to answer. What would actually happen if you, with all your modern habits and expectations, suddenly found yourself living in medieval Europe? The answer, unfortunately, is probably not what you would hope. Imagine that one morning you wake up not in your own bed, but in a small village somewhere in Europe around the year 1300. There is no phone, no electricity, no running water, no medicine, no internet, no modern comforts whatsoever. Just you and the medieval world. At first, you might feel curious, excited even. After all, how difficult could it really be? The answer arrives quickly. The first challenge is simply staying warm. Your house is cold. Your clothes are uncomfortable. The smoke from the fire stings your eyes. You haven't even eaten breakfast yet, and already you miss the modern world. Then comes the food. No coffee, no sugar, no refrigeration, no snacks, no delivery services. Every meal depends on hard physical labor and a successful harvest. Hunger becomes something you think about every day. Then comes the work. You quickly discover that survival itself is a full-time occupation. Fetching water, collecting firewood, preparing food, repairing tools, working in the fields, caring for animals. The tasks never end. There are no weekends, no vacations, no retirement plans, only work. Day after day, week after week. Soon, your body begins to change. Your hands become rough. Your muscles ache constantly. You lose weight. You sleep poorly. And yet, compared to the people around you, you are still struggling. Because they have spent their entire lives preparing for this world. You have not. As the months pass, other challenges appear. You become sick. Perhaps it is an infection. Perhaps it is contaminated water. Perhaps it is something as simple as a toothache. In the modern world, this would be an inconvenience. In medieval Europe, it becomes a serious threat. Medical treatment is uncertain. Medicine itself remains primitive. Recovery depends largely on luck, and luck is not always generous. Then winter arrives. The cold becomes relentless. Food supplies begin to shrink. The days become shorter. You spend long nights listening to the wind outside and wondering whether spring will arrive before your strength disappears. This is the moment when many modern people would realize something important. We are not weak. We are simply adapted to a different world. The people of medieval Europe were adapted to theirs. They understood hunger. They understood hard labor. They understood uncertainty. From childhood, they learned how to survive conditions that would shock many people today. And still, even for them, survival was never guaranteed. You think about everything you have experienced: the disease, the wars, the dangerous roads, the harsh winters, the exhausting labor, the endless discomfort. And yet, somehow, millions of people lived these lives, not for days, not for weeks, for generations. As the final evening of your imagined medieval year arrives, you step outside. The village is quiet. Smoke rises into the cold night air. The stars shine brightly overhead. No electric lights obscure them. No modern sounds interrupt the silence. For a moment, despite everything, the world feels beautiful. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. The Middle Ages were not simply miserable. They were human, filled with suffering, filled with hardship, but also filled with resilience, family, friendship, faith, and hope. You take one final look at the medieval world around you, and you realize that while you probably would not survive very long there, the people who did survive deserve enormous respect. Because every ordinary day in medieval Europe required extraordinary strength. The firelight fades. The village grows silent. The stars continue shining above the dark countryside. And as your long journey through the Middle Ages finally comes to an end, one final thought remains. You probably wouldn't last a day in medieval times, but the people who did may have been some of the strongest survivors in human history.
After surviving the brutal realities of work, war, disease, and winter, you might hope that love and family life offered some comfort, and sometimes they did. But if you imagine medieval romance as a fairy tale filled with knights and princesses, you're in for another difficult surprise. The morning begins with church bells. As you walk through the village square, you notice that something unusual is happening. People are gathering. Children run through the muddy streets. Neighbors whisper excitedly. A marriage is about to take place. Today, in the modern world, marriage is often viewed as a personal choice based on love, compatibility, and individual preference. In medieval Europe, marriage is also about love sometimes, but far more often it is about survival. For peasants, marriage means creating a household capable of working, farming, and enduring hardship together. For nobles, marriage often means forming alliances, protecting land, or increasing wealth and power. Romance, while certainly not absent, is rarely the main concern. You watch as the bride and groom stand before the village church. Neither wears a magnificent white gown, neither lives in a fairy tale. Instead, they stand together as two people preparing to face a difficult world side by side. Perhaps that is a kind of romance all its own. The ceremony itself is simple. Friends and family gather nearby. Prayers are spoken, promises are made, and then, almost immediately, everyday life resumes. Because life in medieval Europe allows very little time for celebration. Marriage marks not the end of a story, it marks the beginning of work. Lots of work. As you spend time with a local family, you begin to understand what marriage really means in the Middle Ages. It means sharing responsibility, fetching water, preparing food, raising children, working fields, repairing homes, surviving winters. Everything is done together because doing it alone is often impossible. The family itself becomes the most important institution in everyday life. Grandparents live with children. Children help parents. Neighbors help neighbors. Everyone depends on someone else. Independence, as many people understand it today, is almost unimaginable. You notice that affection exists everywhere, not always through grand romantic gestures, but through small acts. A husband repairing his wife's shoes, a wife saving the best portion of food for her children, parents staying awake all night beside a sick child. Love exists. It simply looks different. As the afternoon passes, you speak with older villagers about marriage. Some married for love. Many did not. Some marriages are happy. Others are difficult. Because medieval people, despite living centuries ago, remain human. They argue, they laugh, they forgive, they regret, they hope. In other words, they are very much like us. But there is another reality that shadows every family: death. Children die,
Parents die, spouses die. Disease and hardship mean that almost every family experiences loss. As a result, people learn to value the time they have together, because tomorrow is never guaranteed. You watch a young family sharing their evening meal. The food is simple, the house is small, the future is uncertain, and yet they smile. Not because life is easy, but because they have each other. Perhaps that is one of the most important lessons of medieval life. People do not survive hardship alone, they survive it together. As evening settles over the village, candles flicker softly inside the cottages. Families gather around fires. Stories are told. Children grow sleepy. Parents prepare for another difficult day tomorrow. You sit quietly and think about everything you've learned during your journey through the Middle Ages. The hunger, the cold, the disease, the fear. And yet, somehow, amid all of that suffering, people still found room for love. Not the perfect love of fairy tales, not the dramatic love of legends, but the ordinary, everyday love that helps human beings endure impossible circumstances. As the church bell rings one final time and the medieval village slowly falls asleep, one final realization comes to you. Perhaps the greatest strength of medieval people was not their ability to survive hardship, it was their ability to continue loving one another despite it. After spending so much time exploring the hardships of medieval life, you may be wondering an important question. Did people in the Middle Ages ever have fun? The answer, surprisingly, is yes. In fact, despite all their struggles, medieval people found many ways to laugh, celebrate, and escape the difficulties of everyday life. Today is different. For the first time in many weeks, there is no urgent work waiting in the fields, no long journey to undertake, no war to fear. Instead, the village is preparing for a festival. As the morning sun rises, you notice a change in everyone's mood. People smile more. Children run through the streets. Even the older villagers seem lighter somehow. Because opportunities for entertainment in medieval Europe are rare, and that makes them precious. In the modern world, entertainment is everywhere. Television, movies, music, video games, the internet. In the Middle Ages, none of these exist, which means that when entertainment does happen, people experience it together. You walk toward the village square. Already, merchants are setting up stalls, musicians tune their instruments, food vendors prepare simple meals. The air feels different, hopeful, excited. For many villagers, festivals are among the happiest days of the entire year. You hear the sound of music, not recorded music, real music, played by real people. A musician begins playing a lute, another joins with a flute. Soon others clap along. The music is simple, but it fills the entire square. You realize something important. Medieval people do not consume entertainment, they participate in it. Children begin dancing, adults laugh. Even those who cannot play instruments contribute by singing, clapping, or telling stories. Entertainment belongs to everyone. As the morning continues, games begin. Some people compete in wrestling, others participate in archery contests. Children play games with sticks, balls made of cloth, and wooden toys. There are no professional sports leagues, no television broadcasts, only ordinary people creating moments of joy together. You watch a storyteller gather a crowd. Within moments, dozens of listeners surround him. He tells tales of kings, of heroes, of dragons, of distant lands. No one checks a phone, no one becomes distracted. Everyone listens, because storytelling is one of humanity's oldest forms of entertainment, and in medieval Europe it remains one of the most important. Later, a traveling performer arrives. He juggles, he performs tricks, he tells jokes. The audience erupts with laughter. For a few precious moments, nobody thinks about work, nobody thinks about winter, nobody thinks about disease. They simply enjoy being alive. As the afternoon arrives, food appears. Not extravagant food, but special food. Fresh bread, roasted meat if the village is fortunate, cheese, ale, perhaps even a sweet treat. The meal itself becomes part of the celebration, because eating together means more than satisfying hunger. It means belonging. As the sun begins to set, the festival changes. Fires are lit, music grows softer, families gather closer together. Older villagers begin telling stories about festivals from their own childhoods. Some stories are true, some probably are not, but nobody seems to care. The purpose of the story is not accuracy, the purpose is connection. You sit beside the fire and look around. The people surrounding you have endured incredible hardships. They have survived hunger, disease, cold, loss, and yet tonight they laugh, they sing, they celebrate. Perhaps that is the most remarkable thing about human beings. No matter how difficult life becomes, we continue searching for joy. As the stars slowly appear overhead and the last songs of the evening drift into the night air, you realize that medieval entertainment was never really escaping reality. It was about surviving reality together. And perhaps that made it more valuable than any entertainment we have today. As the fire burns lower and the village slowly grows quiet once more, one final thought remains. The people of the Middle Ages may have lived difficult lives, but they never forgot how to celebrate the simple miracle of being alive.
Throughout your journey across medieval Europe, one truth has quietly followed you everywhere. It has been present in every village, every castle, every battlefield, and every home. In the Middle Ages, death was not a distant possibility. It was an ordinary part of everyday life. The morning begins with silence, not the peaceful silence of dawn, a different kind of silence. As you walk through the village, you notice that the usual sounds are missing. No children playing, no laughter, no conversations drifting through the air. Instead, people move slowly. They speak quietly. Someone has died. In the modern world, many people can go weeks or months without directly encountering death. In medieval Europe, that would be almost unimaginable. Death is everywhere, not because medieval people were obsessed with it, but because they had no choice. Disease, accidents, childbirth, war, hunger, cold. Any one of these could end a life unexpectedly, and often they did. You follow the villagers toward the church. The church bell rings slowly, once, then again. Each sound echoes across the countryside. Everyone understands what it means. Inside the church, candles flicker in the darkness. Family members stand together. Neighbors gather nearby. No one is surprised by death, but that does not make it easier.
you realize something important. Medieval people mourned just as deeply as we do. They loved, they grieved, they remembered. The pain of loss has never belonged to any particular century. As the ceremony begins, you think about how different medieval life expectancy was from modern life. Many children never reached adulthood. Many adults never reached old age. Yet this does not mean that everyone died young. Rather, it means that life was uncertain. Every year survived was a victory. Every birthday was a blessing. Every gray hair was an achievement. Outside the church, older villagers quietly tell stories about the person who has died. Stories of childhood, stories of work, stories of family, stories of laughter. Because even in death, what people remember most is not suffering, it is life. As the day continues, you reflect on all the ways death shaped medieval society. Parents taught children about mortality from a young age. Religious faith provided comfort and meaning. Communities gathered together during times of loss. Nobody faced grief entirely alone. Perhaps they could not afford to, because grief was too common. You remember the battlefield, the plague, the harsh winters, the dangerous roads. Everywhere you traveled, death traveled too. And yet, something about the medieval attitude to death feels strangely different from our own. Many people feared dying, but they also accepted that death was unavoidable. It was part of the natural order of life, a truth that could not be ignored. As evening approaches, you leave the churchyard. The sun hangs low above the fields. Life in the village slowly begins to return to normal. Children play again. Farmers return to work. Smoke rises from the cottages. The world continues. It always does. You sit quietly beneath a tree and watch the sunset. For the first time during your journey, you understand something profound. The people of medieval Europe did not survive because they believed they would live forever. They survived because they understood that life was temporary, and perhaps that knowledge made every moment more meaningful. The warmth of a fire, the taste of bread, the laughter of family, the sight of stars above a quiet village. All of these things mattered because they could be lost. As darkness slowly covers the medieval countryside and the church bell rings one final time, one thought remains with you. The people of the Middle Ages lived closer to death than most of us ever will. And perhaps because of that, they understood the value of life more deeply than we can easily imagine.
After spending so much time in the medieval world, you begin to wonder about something unexpected. What did people living in the Middle Ages think about the future? Did they dream about tomorrow the way we do? Did they imagine a better world waiting ahead? The morning sun rises slowly over the village. The fields glisten with dew. Smoke curls upward from cottage chimneys. For a moment, everything feels timeless. And perhaps that is exactly how many medieval people understood their world. In the modern age, we are constantly thinking about the future. We save for retirement. We plan careers. We imagine new technologies. We expect the world to change. But in medieval Europe, change often happened so slowly that many people lived their entire lives without witnessing dramatic transformations. The village where you stand today may look very similar to the village that existed here 100 years earlier, and perhaps very similar to the village that will exist 100 years later. This does not mean medieval people lacked ambition. Far from it. They simply imagined the future differently. For most peasants, the future was not measured in decades. It was measured in seasons. Would the harvest succeed? Would winter be severe? Would the livestock survive? Would the children remain healthy? These were the questions that mattered. As you walk through the village, you notice a farmer repairing a wooden fence. He is not dreaming about changing the world. He is thinking about surviving the next storm. And honestly, given the realities of medieval life, that makes perfect sense. You visit the local market. Merchants discuss next month's fair. Travelers talk about road conditions. Parents worry about their children's futures. Everyone thinks about tomorrow, but very few think about centuries from now, because survival itself requires most of their attention. Yet, medieval people did dream, perhaps not of smartphones, or airplanes, or space travel, but they dreamed nonetheless. A peasant might dream of owning more land. A craftsman might dream of opening his own workshop. A merchant might dream of traveling to distant cities. A nobleman might dream of glory and honor. Dreams existed. They were simply shaped by a different world. As the day continues, you speak with an elderly villager. He tells you that when he was young, he imagined his life would be different, easier, more prosperous. In some ways, he was right. In others, he was not. You realize something surprising. Human beings have always hoped for a better future. That desire did not begin with modern civilization. It is part of what makes us human. You walk toward the church as evening approaches. The bell rings across the fields. Children chase each other through the village. Parents prepare the evening meal. For a moment, everything feels familiar. Not medieval, not modern, simply human. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson of your journey. The people of the Middle Ages were not waiting for history to happen. They were living their lives. They worried about their families. They celebrated good harvests. They feared illness. They dreamed of happiness, just as we do. As the sun begins to set, you sit on a hillside overlooking the village one final time. The sky turns gold, then orange, then deep blue. The first stars appear. You think about all the people who have lived throughout history, all the hopes they carried, all the fears they endured, and all the futures they never got to see. The medieval people below you have no idea what the next 700 years will bring. They cannot imagine electricity, or airplanes, or computers, or the internet. But perhaps that is not important, because the future has always been unknowable, for them and for us. As darkness slowly settles over the medieval world, one final realization comes to you. The people of the Middle Ages did not spend their lives dreaming about our future. They spent their lives trying to protect their own. And perhaps that is exactly what human beings have always done.
Your journey through medieval Europe is nearly over. You have survived cold winters, exhausting labor, disease, war, hunger, and uncertainty. Now, as your final night in the medieval world approaches, there is one last lesson waiting to be discovered. The day begins quietly. No church bells ring urgently. No soldiers march across the fields. No travelers arrive with news of war or plague. Instead, the village wakes as it always has, slowly, patiently. The fire is lit. Animals are fed. Children begin their chores. The ordinary routines of life continue. And perhaps that is what surprises you most. After everything you have witnessed, medieval life was not primarily about great battles or famous kings. It was about ordinary people trying to make it through another day. As you walk through the village one final time, you notice details you overlooked when you first arrived. The farmer carefully repairing a wooden cart. The baker preparing tomorrow's bread. The mother comforting a crying child. The elderly man sitting quietly in the morning sun. None of these people will appear in history books. No one hundreds of years from now will know their names. Yet they are the ones who built the medieval world. You stop beside the village well. It was one of the first places you visited. Back then, everything felt strange. The cold water, the hard labor, the uncertainty. Now, somehow, it feels familiar. Not comfortable, but understandable. You realize that throughout your journey, something unexpected has happened. You stopped comparing medieval people to modern people and started seeing them simply as people. People who worried, people who hoped, people who loved, people who suffered, people who endured. As the afternoon passes, you sit with several villagers near the fields. They speak about next year's harvest, about marriages, about children, about the weather. Nothing extraordinary, and yet somehow it feels important. Because most of human history has not been shaped by kings or wars. It has been shaped by ordinary conversations like these. You think back to everything you have experienced, the endless labor, the hunger, the fear of disease, the harsh winters, the dangerous roads, the uncertainty of every tomorrow. At first, these hardships seemed impossible. Now, they simply seem human, because human beings adapt. We always have. That may be our greatest strength. As evening approaches, the village begins preparing for night. Smoke rises from the cottages. Animals are brought inside. Candles flicker in the windows. The familiar sounds of medieval life slowly return. You realize that this world will continue long after you leave. Tomorrow, the farmers will wake before sunrise. Children will continue their chores. Merchants will travel dangerous roads. Families will gather around fires. Life will go on, just as it always has. The sun finally begins to disappear below the horizon. The sky glows orange and gold. For one last time, medieval Europe looks beautiful. Not because it was easy, not because it was romantic, but because it was real. You sit quietly beneath the evening sky and think about what this journey has taught you. Perhaps the greatest misconception about history is that people in the past were fundamentally different from us. They were not. They feared losing their families. They hoped for better days. They worried about the future. They searched for meaning, just as we do. The stars begin appearing overhead. The village grows silent. The fire beside you burns softly. And as your long journey through the Middle Ages finally draws to a close,
one final lesson remains. You probably wouldn't have lasted very long in medieval times, but if you had, you would have discovered something extraordinary. The people who survived that difficult world were not heroes. They were simply ordinary human beings doing what human beings have always done, trying to make it through tomorrow.
As your journey through medieval Europe enters its final hours, you begin to notice something that modern people rarely think about. The Middle Ages did not just look different from our world, they sounded different too. This morning, before you even open your eyes, you hear it. The rooster. Then another. Then a dog barking in the distance. Then the creaking of a wooden cart. The medieval world is waking up. There are no alarm clocks, no phone notifications, no electric hums from distant machines. Instead, life is measured by natural sounds. You sit up slowly on your straw mattress. The fire crackles softly. Someone nearby coughs. A child begins to cry. Outside, birds fill the morning air with song. For a moment, the world feels peaceful. Then, the church bell rings. Loud. Clear. Impossible to ignore. Its sound echoes across the village and over the fields beyond. For centuries, church bells served as the soundtrack of everyday life. They announced the beginning of work. They marked religious services. They warned of danger. They celebrated marriages. And they mourned the dead. If you lived in medieval Europe, you would hear church bells thousands upon thousands of times throughout your life. You step outside into the cold morning air. Immediately, the village surrounds you with sound. Chickens cluck. Pigs grunt. Cows call out from nearby fields. Children shout to one another. Wood splits beneath an axe. Water splashes into wooden buckets. Nothing is silent. As you walk towards the marketplace, the sounds become even louder. Merchants advertise their goods. Blacksmiths strike glowing mail with heavy hammers. Horses pull carts over rough roads. Dogs bark. People argue. People laugh. People sing. The medieval world is alive, and it is noisy. Very noisy. Modern people often imagine the past as quiet, but true silence was actually rare. Without engines and electricity, natural sounds became much more noticeable. Wind through trees, rain on rooftops, footsteps in mud, the distant sound of church bells carried by the wind. Every sound mattered. As the afternoon progresses, you travel through the countryside. Here, the sounds change. The village noise fades. Now you hear birds, flowing water, the creaking of leather straps, the soft movement of animals grazing in fields. You realize that medieval people were probably far more aware of sound than most of us are today. They had to be. A strange noise at night could signal danger. The sound of thunder could threaten crops. The ringing of bells could announce important news. Listening was a survival skill. As evening approaches, you return to the village. The sounds begin changing once again. Animals are brought home.
Children become quieter. The marketplace empties. One by one, the noises of the day begin to disappear. Then, just after sunset, something remarkable happens. The medieval world becomes truly dark and almost truly quiet. No distant highways, no airplanes overhead, no electric appliances, only the sound of wind, the occasional bark of a dog, the crackling of a fire, and somewhere in the distance, perhaps the faint ringing of a church bell. You look upward. The stars fill the sky. The silence feels enormous. And yet it does not feel empty. It feels alive. As you listen to the medieval night one final time, you understand something unexpected. The people of the Middle Ages lived in a world where every sound had meaning. Every bell, every footstep, every voice, every breath of wind. Perhaps that is why they listened so carefully. Because in a world without constant noise, the sounds that remained mattered. As the fire slowly burns lower, and the last sounds of the village fade into darkness, one final thought drifts through your mind. The medieval world may have looked very different from ours, but perhaps its greatest difference was something we can no longer see. It was something we could only hear.
After hundreds of miles traveled, countless hardships endured, and centuries of history explored, your final morning in medieval Europe has finally arrived. And somehow, despite everything, saying goodbye feels more difficult than you expected. You wake before dawn, not because of an alarm, not because of work, but because something feels different. The cottage is quiet. The fire has nearly burned out. Outside, the world still sleeps. For a moment, you remain beneath your rough wool blanket and listen. The wind, the occasional movement of animals, the soft breathing of the people around you. Sounds that once felt unfamiliar now feel strangely comforting. Slowly, you stand and step outside. The air is cold, very cold. The sky above you remains dark, but not for long. A faint line of light has appeared on the horizon. You realize that this will be your final sunrise in medieval Europe. As you walk through the sleeping village, memories return. Here is the well where you first learned how difficult daily survival could be. There is the church whose bells have marked every day of your journey. Beyond it lies the field where men and women worked from sunrise until sunset. And further still, the road that carried merchants, pilgrims, soldiers, and dreamers across a dangerous world. At first, you saw only hardship, the hunger, the cold, the disease, the fear. But now, on your final morning, you notice something else. The resilience, the courage, the ordinary determination that allowed millions of people to endure lives that would challenge most of us today. The first rays of sunlight finally appear. Golden light spreads slowly across the fields. Frost glitters on the grass. Smoke begins rising from cottage chimneys. The village is waking, just as it has every morning for centuries. A farmer opens his door. A child carries water. A woman prepares bread. No one realizes that this ordinary morning will become history. And perhaps that is exactly the point. History is rarely experienced as history. It is experienced as today. As you continue walking, you pass people you have come to know. The blacksmith preparing his tools, the shepherd gathering his flock, the baker lighting the oven. None of them consider themselves extraordinary, yet every one of them has survived a world of uncertainty,
a world of hard labor, a world where tomorrow was never guaranteed. You stop on a hill overlooking the village. From here, you can see almost everything: the church, the fields, the cottages, the roads disappearing into the distance. For the first time, medieval Europe no longer feels foreign. It feels human. You think about everything you have learned: that castles were cold, that roads were dangerous, that medicine was uncertain, that winter was terrifying, that survival itself required extraordinary effort. But you also learned something else: that people laughed, people celebrated, people fell in love, people dreamed about the future, even in the hardest of times. The sun rises higher, the village becomes louder. Another ordinary day has begun. And that, perhaps, is the greatest lesson of all. The people of the Middle Ages were not waiting for a better world. They were living in the only world they had, and they did so with remarkable strength. You take one final look at the medieval landscape, at the smoke rising into the morning sky, at the church bell ringing in the distance, at the people beginning another difficult day. Then, quietly, you say goodbye, not to kings, not to battles, not to castles, but to the ordinary men, women, and children who built this world through their labor, their hope, and their endurance. As the sun fully rises over medieval Europe and your journey finally comes to an end, one last thought remains. You probably wouldn't have lasted a day in medieval times, but after spending this long among the people who did, you can no longer help but admire them, and perhaps, in a small way, miss them too.
Your journey should have ended with the sunrise. But before you leave the medieval world forever, there is one final evening waiting for you. One final fire, one final lesson. The day passes slowly. You help carry water from the village well. You repair a broken fence with a farmer. You share a simple meal of bread and stew. Nothing extraordinary happens, and somehow that feels appropriate. Because after everything you've experienced, you have come to understand that medieval life was not defined by extraordinary events. It was defined by ordinary endurance. As the sun begins to set, you walk to the edge of the village. The same path you have walked many times before now feels different. The fields stretch into the distance. The air smells of earth, smoke, and approaching night. A flock of birds crosses the darkening sky. For a moment, everything is still. You sit beside a small fire. The flames crackle softly. Above you, the first stars begin to appear. You think back to the beginning of your journey, back when medieval Europe seemed like a distant, almost mythical place, a world of castles, knights, kings, and grand adventures. Now, after all this time, those images seem incomplete, because the true story of the Middle Ages was never really about kings. It was about bakers waking before dawn, farmers working until sunset, mothers caring for children through long winters, travelers risking dangerous roads, families gathering around fires at the end of exhausting days. The Middle Ages were built by ordinary people, and ordinary people, you have learned, are often extraordinary. The fire burns brighter as darkness settles over the village. You remember the countless hardships, the hunger, the disease, the cold, the fear, the endless uncertainty. You think back to thinking that no modern person could survive such a world. Perhaps that is true. But then another thought occurs to you. If you had been born here, if this had been the only world you had ever known, perhaps you would have survived too. Because human beings adapt. We always have. That may be our greatest talent. Not intelligence, not strength, not technology, but adaptation. The ability to endure, the ability to continue, the ability to hope. You hear laughter from one of the nearby cottages. Someone is telling a story. Children are laughing. For a moment, you close your eyes and simply listen. The sound feels timeless, because across thousands of years, through every civilization and every hardship, human beings have always gathered around fires and told stories. Perhaps that is what connects us most strongly to the past. Not our differences, but our similarities. The night grows colder. You pull your cloak tighter. The stars above you multiply until the entire sky seems alive with light. Without cities, without electricity, without modern distractions, the universe feels enormous, and you feel very small. Yet strangely, you do not feel alone. You think about the millions of people who lived and died during the Middle Ages. Most of their names are forgotten. Most of their stories were never written down. And yet they mattered. They loved. They suffered. They dreamed. They survived. And because they did, you exist. The fire begins to fade. The village grows quiet. The wind moves softly through the fields. This time, there really are no more journeys left, no more roads to travel, no more lessons to learn, only one final understanding. The Middle Ages were not an age of darkness. They were an age of humanity, an age filled with fear and courage, with suffering and joy, with endings and beginnings. As the last embers of the fire glow beneath the endless stars, one final thought settles gently into your mind. You came to the Middle Ages expecting to learn why you wouldn't survive there. Instead, you learned why so many people did.
The fire has burned low. The village sleeps. The long journey through medieval Europe, a world of hardship, resilience, and ordinary courage, has finally reached its end. The night is quiet. Not completely quiet. The wind still moves gently through the trees. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barks once and then falls silent again. The last embers of your fire glow softly in the darkness. For a long time, you simply sit and watch them. You think back to the very beginning of this journey, back when the medieval world seemed like a distant and unfamiliar world, a world of castles and kings, a world of knights and battles, a world so different from your own that it almost felt impossible to imagine. And yet, somehow, after all this time, it no longer feels so distant. You remember your first night sleeping on straw. You remember the cold that crept through stone walls.
You remember the smell of smoke that never quite disappeared. You remember the endless labor in the fields, the dangerous roads, the crowded markets, the terrifying diseases, the long winters, the church bells, the laughter around fires, the stories shared between strangers. At first, every hardship seemed unbearable. Then, slowly, something changed. The hardships remained, but the people became familiar. The baker who woke before sunrise, the farmer who worried about the harvest, the mother who stayed awake beside a sick child, the traveler who feared the road ahead, the old man who remembered winters long past. They were not heroes, they were not kings, they were simply people, and perhaps that is why they mattered. The moon hangs high above the village now. Its light falls softly across the fields. Tomorrow morning, these people will wake again. They will gather water, repair tools, prepare food, work the fields, care for their families. They will continue living their lives. They will never know that centuries later, people will look back and call their world history. Because to them, this was never history. It was simply life. You stand one last time. The air is cold. The village is silent. Above you, the stars shine with a brightness almost impossible to imagine in the modern world. You realize that throughout this journey, you have been asking the wrong question. The question was never, could I survive the medieval ages? The real question was, how did they survive the medieval ages? And now, finally, you know the answer. They survived because they had no choice. They survived because they loved one another. They survived because they hoped. They survived because human beings have always survived. Not because they are fearless, not because they are stronger, but because somehow, even in the hardest moments, they continue. The fire finally fades. The last ember disappears. The village disappears into darkness, and slowly, gently, the medieval world begins to slip away. The church bells grow silent. The roads become empty. The castles fade into shadow. The voices of millions of ordinary people drift back into history. But before they disappear completely, one final lesson remains. The people of the medieval ages were never characters in a story. They were human beings. They struggled, they suffered, they laughed, they dreamed, and against impossible odds, they endured. As your long journey finally comes to an end, and the stars slowly fade into the coming dawn, one final thought settles peacefully into your mind. You probably wouldn't have lasted a day in medieval times, but after spending all this time among the people who did, perhaps the greatest surprise of all is this. You no longer remember the medieval ages as a place of misery. You remember it as a place filled with people. And somehow, that makes all the difference. Good night.